accepting the opportunity, right? The opportunity got presented to me. Was I prepared? Hell no. I had no idea what I was doing. But I was just like, okay, go with the flow, go with the flow, go with the flow. Just use your use your personality,
like leverage your
sell
strength.
yourself.
Yeah.
Sell yourself. Like, if you can't sell yourself, you have no right in selling any product.
So you have a passion for fitness and the desire to start your own business. But launching a massively successful fitness business is extremely complex. The systems, operations, hiring, firing, coaching, sales, and marketing are critical to success. Where do you even start? This show will give you the answers. Here is Bedros Keuilian and Bryce Henson, your hosts of the Fitness Franchise Podcast, a show dedicated to helping fitness entrepreneurs launch and grow successful gyms.
Welcome back, my friends, to another amazing episode of the Fitness Franchise Podcast. And before I tee up today's guest, who is absolutely incredible, I want to give you a friendly reminder to give you a like and subscribe on YouTube and write us an amazing review on iTunes. That way we can keep producing this content for you for free. So now to tee up today's guest, who's a dear friend of mine, who's also a professional songwriter and singer. Now, she's the announcer for the Professional Fighters League MMA Cage on the infamous ESPN, and she was the host for 15 years of WWE shows such as Smackdown, Monday Night Raw, and WrestleMania. And today, you're gonna learn how to overcome fear and how to use authenticity to explode your profits. Welcome to the show, my friend, Miss Lilian Garcia. My friend Lilian Garcia, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's so great.
Oh, I'm so pumped that you can make time with all your busy traveling schedule, which we'll get to in a second. But my first question, Lilian, that I always like to ask is the backstory. So I'm going to ask it, though. But I want to preface this the first time we met, which is so awesome. And in the case that you are seeing Lilian, you're like, I know Lilian. So Lilian and I met about like a year and a half ago, actually at Bedros, our co-host, house.
Love Bedros, by the way.
You're awesome. And when I went up, and I'm an extrovert guy, Lilian clearly is as well, and I walked up and I introduced myself, and I'm like, you know what? It's almost like I know you from somewhere before. And then you stopped and you're like, well, maybe, could be. Have you ever watched, are you a fan of wrestling? And then boom, the light bulbs went on. Because my friends, you might know her from the host of WWE, Monday Night Raw, Smackdown, WrestleMania, and now the Professional Fighters League on ESPN. So I want to give her that credit and accolades to kind of kick off the story. But I thought it was a really unique way to meet you, and super excited. So I guess, Lilian, if you could, tell us how you got to where you are today.
Oh my gosh, what a journey. It's an unexpected journey, which I love to talk about because I think, I even as a little girl got focused on my life, had to look a certain way. And now I look at it and go, whoa, when you're open to possibilities and what it might take a turn that you're, an unexpected turn, it's been so much better. So I was raised in Madrid, Spain. My dad was in the army, lieutenant colonel. And so he was working for the American embassy. And so my sister and I were both there in Madrid. And she's 4 years older than me. And, I love the life in Spain. It was so much fun. And I got to start singing when I was 5 years old and loved to sing. And so that's what I thought I was going to do. My whole life, I was like, I'm going to be a singer. I left Spain when I was 8 and came to South Carolina. And it was a bit rough because even though I was American, because I spoke, even though I spoke English, because I spoke Spanish, because I wore dresses to school, because that's what we wore in Spain, I was immediately picked on. So I went through the whole bullying phase, and it was not easy because in Spain we didn't have cliques. I didn't have to try to fit in. Like, we just all got along. And so I was like, wait, what do you mean I've got to try to be with the popular girls? Like, I don't understand this. And I wanted to be with the popular girls. Who doesn't? Like, who doesn't want to be popular? So I was like forcing it though. And so that was a big lesson. It's like, don't force things, just don't. So I was making things worse. But in that whole thing, it really started creating this tenacity in me and this fire in me to, no, I'm not going to be put down. I'm going to persevere one way or another. You're not going to hold me down. And so kind of thankful for it, right? You look back and you go, if you could change anything, would you? And it's like, No, as painful as it was, it taught me a lot of things. And it also taught me empathy. Like I like to treat people with a lot of kindness, and receive people. When at WWE, when we started getting new girls coming in, I immediately started making friends with them, which is not necessarily what I was receiving when I first got there, because it was a different culture.
Like a catty type of environment, typically?
Yeah, and then little by little, they warmed up to me, and then they started receiving. So I was able to make a transition for them too, to show, no, don't try to be the popular girls where you're, the mean girls and pushing the new girl out or whatever. Just be more in the receiving and helping and encouraging and working as a team. So I think that the bullying early on taught me that, to be the first one, to extend your hand, to say hello, that what can I do to help you? You're new. I know it's so hard to be new. What can I do? And so I'm grateful for that. And I ended up I went to the USC. Let's make that very clear.
The Gamecocks of South Carolina.
That's right.
Which we're here in our studio in Chino Hills, just south of LA, which everyone thinks of University of Southern California, but I'm from the South as well. Gamecocks, there we go.
Yes. Loved being a Gamecock. I sang a lot of bands when I was there. And so I just, like I said, I thought singing was going to be my thing. My first job, like out of college, was working for a radio station.
Yeah.
And that was just total fluke. Hugo, the hurricane, had hit, and I had just started on Thursday, and I was doing sales. That's what I got hired to do, is sales and sell as far as advertisements on radio. And I always loved sales. I don't know what it was, but I could just, Girl Scout cookies, boom. I was a brownie. I wasn't even a Girl Scout. But I sold a lot of Girl Scout cookies that my sister had. She didn't like to sell, so I sold Girl Scout cookies that she had. And then my parents were in Amway. And so I remember they had this flip brush, and I wanted to make some money. So I started going to school and selling the flip brush, and sold tons of flip brushes. And I just love selling. So
where do you think that comes from? And I think there's probably a good takeaway, because our audience, interested in business and entrepreneurship, and you got to be able to sell your product or service. So I guess, where did that come from?
I guess my performing side is like, I took it as a way to use my personality and just get people excited about something that I passionately believed in.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to interject here, because really what I teach on sales, really, and there's quite a few fundamentals, but it really comes down to transferring emotion. So what you just said is like, you just getting excited. When you get excited, transfer emotion, that actually moves people.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't love Girl Scout cookies, right?
Well, that too. You're selling a good product.
But you're selling a good product. And so I was like, this is fun. And seeing the excitement of the person that was receiving it, right? They didn't feel like they got taken or anything like that, or you forced anything on them. They were just like, oh my God, yeah, these cookies are amazing. Thank you. And it really, where it really started was in Spain. So I was on a bus, going to and from school, and my mom started seeing where I was coming home with money. And she's like, how are you coming home with money? And what it was is I went to the library, and I love comic books. And I would check out a bunch of comic books to read at home. But when I was on the bus and I had them stacked, there was the kids that were like, oh, where'd you get that comic book? Can I read it? As they were, wanting to go home. And I was like, sure, for 10 cents. So I literally started going to the library and just getting stacks of comic books, getting on my bus and renting them out for 10 cents. And I would come home with this money. And Mom was like, what are you doing? And then when I told her, she's like, you're brilliant.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just using this. I love people. I love connecting to people, and I love providing any kind of service that brings a smile to their face. Because for me, like I said, that's the singing part. When I could see somebody light up when I sang, that was it. I was like, wow, that's really cool. And then I give somebody a comic book, and they're like, oh my God, this, and they're just reading and so excited. That's great. Selling Girl Scout cookies, the flip brush. I believed in this flip brush. It was so freaking cool. It went flat and then just went, that was early on. So yeah, doing that and raising money that way.
And also too, another message to our audience that I'm learning is like the belief, the certainty, like in the product that you're providing and the service that you're providing. And I think when you relate that to any business and specifically fitness, you got to be able to believe that what your product or service can do can help others. And when you do, you have so much more certainty. You can transfer emotion and become unstoppable.
When you also become authentic. You know, I wasn't being forced to sell anything. You know, I was literally picking things that I believed in, right? Yeah. And B, I wasn't trying to force anyone to do, if they didn't want a cookie or if they didn't want, okay. You know, I didn't like try to like, no, you gotta get this. You know, if you don't want it, if you don't see any value in it, okay. Don't be the next person. Because there's so many people. People think that there's not enough people to sell to. Yes, there is. We have 7 billion people in the world.
With a B.
Right? There's a lot of people to sell. But if you're having a hard sell, it's not for that person. Because even if you sell it to them, guess what? Next day or whatever, they're going to have buyer's remorse or they're going to not believe in it, and then they're going to feel taken because they're going to feel like, wow, man, I got suckered into it. And you never want to leave somebody feeling like that. Instead, I liked where somebody came back and they were like, oh, thanks for that flip brush, I've used it every day, or that comic book made me smile, or whatever it is. So when I went to the radio station, I was going to sell ads for the radio. And so same thing, I told my boss, okay, but I'm going to go find people that believe in our station, that believe in the message, that believe in the music programming, that way I'm not just going to pick anything just because I think it could bring money. And so we did really well. And I sold to big companies, from Kentucky Fried Chicken or from, Toyota or something like that to little local mom and pop shops that would never have an opportunity. And I sold them on the importance of radio and definitely, giving them their money's worth. But that when I did that, so I got hired on Thursday, and by Friday the hurricane hit and we didn't go to work all weekend. Because it was just really bad, and it was the one that hit, it was the Hurricane Hugo. It hit Charleston, it was awful, it was devastating. Well, I was singing in the band for many years. So by Monday, I came in and I said, hey guys, if you want, because I really haven't started in sales yet for radio, would you like me to put a benefit jam together to raise money for the hurricane victims? They're like, oh my God, that'd be amazing. And can you do that? And I'm like, well, I'm connected with all of these bands. I'm sure I can get them to donate the time. And so I ended up, there was one girl that volunteered to help me. She was just a fan of the radio station. She came on board. We had to put it together in a week and 2 days because the state fair was coming. And so the space that the state fair had said, yes, we will donate our space, but you got to get it done before the fair comes in. So it was done so quickly that it was that following Wednesday, they said, or it was, 2 Wednesdays later, they said, look, we'd like to put you on radio with Chuck. He was the morning guy. We'll put you on radio with him Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So if anybody wants to call into the show and ask questions, you're our point person. You can answer it instead of Chuck trying to be the middle person, right? So I was on radio with him Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We did the benefit jam on Saturday. We raised over $100,000.
Did you sing in that? Or
I sang. I sang at the time. I was with the Occasions. I don't know. There's that band that they did that very famous song. I'm a girl watcher. It's that beach song, right? So I was with them. So I performed with them. But I had even gotten Company B and Pretty Poison and all them to come in to fly in from New York. It was really great, and it was packed, and I felt so proud. To be able to put that together.
In 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was like a week and 2 days, and have it raise over $100,000. Well, that Monday, I get called into the office for the general manager who wants to talk to me, and I'm just thinking he's going to be like, hey, Lil, thanks for putting this together, and I'm so happy about the outcome. When all of a sudden he's like, hey, so we loved you and Chuck on the radio together, and we really would like for you to be his co-host. I'm like, really? Okay. I'm like, how do you do this job? They're like, I'm sure you'll work it out. You guys will be on there. So I learned on the air how to be a co-host at a radio station.
How long had Chuck been doing the job for?
Chuck was like a pro.
He was
a pro.
Expert.
Totally. And he was a program director. The problem was, he was a program director, so he didn't have a lot of time to train me. So it was this. He would sit there and be like, "Hey guys, welcome to Chuck Finley and Lilian Garcia show," or his Chuck and Lilian show. And then he would say like what the weather was, and then he'd turn to me for like the subject. And I'd just be like, on the air going, I just bring some random subject. I started picking some things that were in the news or whatever. But it was very much a learn as you go on the air in front of anyone. Little did I know how much that was going to help me years later when I got in WWE. Like, little did I know.
Just because of you're going to get to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
but before you do, though,
yes,
there's so much to unpack there.
Please.
It's just about, from an entrepreneur perspective, seeing like a vision, seeing an idea, executing that idea, like having the confidence in order to do so.
Shaking. I mean,
while you're
literally
shaking.
Shaking while you're on the air, but accepting the opportunity, right? The opportunity got presented to me. Was I prepared? Hell no. I had not been a DJ. I had no idea what I was doing. But I was just like, okay, go with the flow, go with the flow, go with the flow. Just use your use your personality,
leverage your
sell
strength.
yourself.
Yeah.
Sell yourself. Like, if you can't sell yourself, you have no right in selling any product.
Friends, that is the message, like, especially if you're fitness and you have a business, at the end of the day, your clients are buying you. So it's really about like selling yourself, showing up with value, and certainly the rest taking care of itself.
And you've got to have self-worth, right? In order to sell yourself, you've got to feel good in what you're doing. And you've got to feel that once you start feeling that you have something to give and something that is worthwhile, that's where your worth comes in, right? Then you feel like, wow, okay, I do want to share this because of something. I feel like I can help you. And so I took that job thinking, well, you know what? I did something really cool with the benefit jam, and it changed people's lives. Those victims, it affected them. So what if I can do something on air by whatever it is that I have to say that can help somebody else too? And so that's the way I took on the job. And just like anything that I always say too is have fun with it. If you're not having fun, then what's the point?
There's not. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be hard work, but I'm going to have fun with it.
Let's go.
And so I did. I had a great time. I did it for 2.5 years, and then I ended up moving to New York because I made a decision. The radio station changed. They went to country, and at the time I didn't have any desire to be in country music or be associated in a radio station, because I didn't really understand country music at that time. Even though I lived in South Carolina, it was all about pop and pop radio and pop rock. And again, it's like, if I would have stayed, I would not have been authentic, right? Stay in country music. So I said, no, this doesn't feel right. I'm going to go ahead.
Follow your gut.
Yeah, you got to follow your gut and your passion and your, authenticity. Authenticity is everything. It would not have been authentic for me to be at a radio station pumping a lot of country music when I didn't even listen to it, believe in it, whatever at the time.
And people would have sensed that, and you wouldn't have been nearly successful compared to like what the passion that you followed just basically like steamrolled and magnified your personality, magnified that passion, and then opportunities come, which I'm dying to hear more on how this came full circle for WWE. So continue on.
Yeah. So I ended up moving to New York City because I said, all right, I've always said I wanted to be a singer. Like, you got to put your money where your mouth is. Like, it's time to go, Lil. And I'd always said, I'm moving to New York, I'm moving to New York, I'm moving to New York. And then it got to the point where it was like, Lil, you keep saying you're moving. When are you moving to New York? So I moved to New York.
Because you're like in your early 20s at this time.
Yeah. So I moved to New York City. Because
if you don't go then, you're not going in your 30s or 40s. It's not going to happen.
It's just harder.
Yeah.
Right? You might, but it's harder harder and harder. So I ended up going, and it was hard. I mean, I took a job in an investment firm. I just took anything, really. Like, something that I knew that I could. I was a receptionist. I was like, okay, I have personality. I know that I can receive people with kindness and, do this. And yes, it's going to pay me enough to at least start surviving. And then I'll figure it out from there. Because I had no plan. Like, I know I'm going to be a singer, but how? And I'd been singing, the whole time with the band and all. But one thing is singing in South Carolina with bands. The other thing is trying to make a career out of it.
In New York City.
In New York City, And I remember there was a girl that actually had come back from New York. She tried to go there to be a model, and she came back and she didn't make it. And I remember saying to myself, that is not going to be me. I will not be coming back. If I come back, it's because I want to come back, not because I didn't make it. So I just knew in my head, I was like, there is no turning. There's no B plan. There's no turning around. So I went. It was through the paper that I found that job. I started working at that investment firm. And then, getting my feet wet. And as I did, I ended up finding a Spanish restaurant and started singing there. So,
in Spanish?
In Spanish. I didn't know any song in Spanish at that point because when I lived in Spain, I listened all to Pat Benatar and Heart and, all American music. Really, that's what I love. So I told the guy who gave me, again, an opportunity, he's like, do you think you could do a show here, like, starting in 2 weeks? It'd be 2 sets of you doing Spanish songs. And I'm like, and I'm like, the only thing I know is, La cucaracha, la cucaracha. Like, literally, that's all I know.
That, Lilian. I know that.
See what I mean?
So you were
only thing I know.
starting at baseline.
Again, but I'm like, okay, opportunity again. I know nothing, but I know how to sing. So let's go and get some books and let's just learn some Spanish songs. So I did. I went home and started, looking up popular Spanish songs and put two sets together, memorized the words. And in 2 weeks I had a show, and I ended up doing that show for like a year and a half. And I was working at the investment firm, like at the same time it was, coinciding. I ended up leaving the investment firm, ended up at one point I got to the point, it was like, okay, Lil, this is not, I got to be where it was too much. Like I was working there so much that it was burning me out. And I said, time to put your money where your mouth is. Go get an agency for acting and for voiceover work and all of that. So that's what I did. And then I ended up getting an agent through that. And so I was singing at that investment firm, at the Spanish restaurant, but then from there, a guy came to the Spanish restaurant, saw me, offered me the job to sing for a 14-piece orchestra. So I was doing that at that time. I was singing for these huge gala events. It's just so crazy. I got to, Michael Bolton came up on stage and performed with us. It was like these huge gala affairs with a who's who in the crowd. So, and even I remember I was singing one time and Eartha Kitt came to the front. Now she's the original Batgirl. And she came to the front and she was just in tears and she's like stopping the band afterwards. She's like, she's like asking me to come over. I hugged her. She's like, don't ever quit singing. Don't ever quit singing. I was just like, oh my God, that's Eartha Kitt. Like it was a real moment.
Pinch me moment.
Yeah, it was a real pinch me moment, but it gave me that oomph to like, okay, keep going, So, but then I got with the agent, he called me and he's like, hey, so there's an audition for the WWF. And I said, the World Wildlife Fund? He's like, no, World Wrestling Federation. I'm like, wait, what? Like wrestling? What could I be doing in wrestling? He goes, well, I know it's not a wrestler for a wrestling position, but I think it's something to do with, broadcast skills. So I was like, okay, I've done radio and I, singing and all. And I did hosting when I was at the radio station. I did karaoke hosting. Like I would go to different events and host different, outings and stuff. So I started getting to know what that was all about.
Just learning these skills on the fly.
On the fly.
Like say yes, let's go.
Everything's on the fly. Yeah. Everything. So then this was really amazing advice. He said to me, because I was not going to take it. I'm like, no, I'm a singer. I need to I've got this band. I've got, things are starting to roll. Like, I don't want to get distracted. I got scared. I was getting distracted. And he said, you know what? Just go to the audition. You never know. It's not going to cost you anything. You never know. So I said, it was in Stamford, Connecticut. I was like, it's a train ride away. It's
like an hour
costing
north
me nothing.
From New York.
Totally.
Yeah.
I was like, he's right. Let me just go see. So I went up there and I auditioned. And now I always say this, God, if it's meant to be, make it obvious. If it's not meant to be, make it obvious. And I went out, I was like, God, if it's meant to be, make it obvious. Not meant to be, make it obvious. And I said, let me do my best. Let me do my best. Like I want to have to turn it down, not because I didn't do my best, right? So I got there, I did the audition. They ended, long story short, they bring me back for a call back and all. And next thing you know, they're offering me the job. It was the week. It was Smackdown was a brand new show that they had.
Brand new
show. I was on episode number 1.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's why, Lily, when I first met you, I'm like, I swear I know you from somewhere. And sure enough, for probably like 5 years of my life in high school and college, I was tuned into that stuff. So
yeah. So I ended up, but the audition was amazing. They treated me with so much class and respect, and just it was really a great process. That
do you think you got the gig because of like your straight performance? Do you think it was the intangibles, like meeting people, your colorfulness on camera? Like, do you have any idea when you reverse engineer it?
How funny you asked that, because when I originally, and I didn't want to elaborate, but I think it's important to elaborate the whole detail about this. When I originally auditioned, it was for they had a Spanish show that they were going to do. They were doing it before Raw, before Smackdown.
Okay.
They aired it before, and so they needed somebody in Spanish to do backstage interviews. Okay, so my audition was doing like broadcasting backstage interviews of the wrestlers. When they called me back, they ended up, I found out before I went back to the callback, they said, oh, never mind. We didn't know Univision, because they were doing it with Univision. Univision already has a girl. They didn't tell WWE. And so they held all these auditions with hundreds of people for nothing, right? And the thing was I did all of my my audition in Spanish, except for one thing. And the one thing was the one that later on, 6 months later, when they called me back because of Smackdown, this was the thing that got me in the door again. They handed me a black roll of tape. And they said, okay, we want you to sell this tape for 1 minute, but you can't sell it as tape. It's got something else, right? Ready, go. Like, no time to think, no nothing. Now I know it's because it was live TV. They wanted to know how quick can you think. Yeah.
Kind of that same experience that we talked about a little while ago, figuring stuff on the fly in South Carolina.
Exactly. On live radio.
On live radio.
Right? Which I didn't fill you in that they had actually given me my own show. They said, we want you to do Christmas Eve, but nobody can be with you that night.
The kick Chuck out?
It was Christmas Eve, and they needed somebody from like 12 a.m. till 7 a.m. Christmas morning.
Yeah.
Right? Just to fill in. But what they didn't, I said, okay, I'll do it, but somebody's got to teach me how to run the board. And nobody taught me how to run the board. Like, I literally got there, and the guy that I relieved, he was supposed to teach me, and he was like, sorry, I got to go.
Meaning run the board, meaning like the production, or?
Like turning on and off, and the songs, and you're at a radio station all by yourself.
Oh, wow.
Nothing's pre-programmed in those days, and I think it's important to talk about this because it ties into this.
Sure.
So what I did was like, I'm sweating bullets. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going on live radio and I don't even know how to run this. But I had watched Chuck do a few things. I knew how to be on air and off air and how to grab the songs and put them in. But I mean, it was crazy. But I was like, okay, you gotta tell people the real deal here. You gotta just be honest. So when I turn on the radio, I'm like, hey guys, it's Lilian Garcia from Yes 97, and I just want to tell you, I've been put on this radio station with no idea of how to run this board. So if you guys hear dead air while, in these 7 hours that I'll be here, just understand what is going on. I had so many calls of people like, Lil, we got you. It's fine. We got, and then I sure enough, as I'm trying to edit those people that are calling in so I could air them, dead air is going off. I mean, Christmas songs are so short. They have no time. They're like 2 minutes.
2 minutes, the same thing, jingle over and again.
So crazy. So I had so much dead air, but sure enough, I noticed the needle was down or something, and I'm like, oh gosh, and I'd be on there. Sorry guys, I am here. I promise, I'm here. I'm just really trying to figure this all out. But it all worked out, right? People, by being real,
authentic. You
got it. Authentic. Just be authentic. So fast forward now at WWE, they're calling me in and everything, and they're handing me that roll of tape, right? So they're like, okay, ready, go. I'm like, all right, ladies and gentlemen, you see this? This is not what you think. Ladies, you need some bracelets. Guess what? Cutting them, putting them in my wrist. And I'm like, instant bracelets. Oh, and check it out. Because all you have to do is put it up here, And I'm putting it on the top part of my arms. And sure, I'm like, you're like Xena, the warrior princess. Now they're counting me down. I still have 30 seconds. I'm like, all right, you're at this party. You forgot to put on your belt, but you also don't want that seam line. It's just gross. So girls, guess what? All you have to do is roll your shirt up, put the tape around like a belt, boom. You put your shirt down, seamless. It is awesome. And they're like, now I got 10 seconds. They're like, all right, countdown. I'm like, all right, so the next time you look at this, don't look at it as just tape, because it's so much more. That was it. Cut. Everybody started applauding. And I'm like, where the heck did that come from? I have no idea. But it was just being real, right? Having fun with it. That's the whole thing I was saying. I just started having fun with just being creative. And that piece that I did in English, that got sent over 6 months later. That is the part that got sent over to the director, who said, let's bring her in. Because the guy who auditioned said, I think you should check her out for Smackdown and for what you got going on. They bring me in because I'm like, oh my God, here's this company again 6 months later. What do I do? God, if it's meant to be, make it obvious. Not meant to be, make it obvious. Sure enough, they ended up calling me and they said, we'd like you to try you out for 2 to 3 months and you could quit at any time. That was my obvious. I've got nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose. I show up at Iowa State University and they tell me at 3:30 that afternoon that I am going to replace the legend Howard Finkel, who had been there as a ring announcer for over 20 years. I'm going to replace him on Monday Night Raw, which at the time was being watched by 14 million people plus worldwide, in like 133 different countries. And I find out, like, you're doing it tonight. I'm like, oh my God, okay, how do you do this job? Like I keep saying, how do you do this job? So they run me through, okay, this is what you say here. So I'm writing all these cue cards. 20 minutes, I'm sitting at ringside. I've had no time to prep, nothing. Like this is from 3:30, go get dressed. I'll watch Howard Finkel, the other announcer, do Sunday Night Heat, which was the show that aired right before Raw. He does four announcements. That was my training, watching him doing 4 ring announcements. As I'm rewriting my cue cards, they tell me 20 minutes before you go on live, oh yeah, you can't look at those cards. You can't use cue cards. This isn't boxing. I'm like, literally like that. Like, I look at the exit sign, Bryce, and I'm like, abort, go. Just, no one knows your name. No one knows who you are. Get the heck out of here. You can't do this. Like, everything in my mind was like, you can't do this. You can't do this. You can't do this. 10 minutes before we're going live, I remembered how I got thrown into the radio station, no training. I got thrown on the board.
On the boards.
I even got thrown when I was 9 years old into the swim team without knowing how to swim. I ended up being a swimmer for 8 years, coaching for 2. So I took all of that, came to my mind, and I said, okay, what did you do during that? I was authentic. I took one thing at a time. Right? I didn't look at the whole 7 hours that I had to broadcast on the radio station. I was like, no, chunk it out. What do I have to
step by step?
What do I have to focus on right now? Right now. Right now it's playing the song. Right now it's like just saying this little message on the radio, So that's what I did, and I memorized it. I just did my best. I sounded horrible. Don't get me wrong. I had no training. But I went home and I controlled what I could control. I went home and I memorized everybody's weights and towns and who they were and what kind of match and, all these things that I didn't know before. So by the second week, I improved so much. They're like, oh, wow, okay, she's really getting better that much quicker. That turned into a 15-year career at WWE. And I got to incorporate singing within the show. I opened up the show every week doing the national anthem.
On Raw, specifically?
On Raw, on Smackdown.
WrestleMania.
I hold the record for singing the most times at WrestleMania. I sang in Iraq and Afghanistan with soldiers all around us. I was the first person to perform after 9/11, the national anthem at a public forum. We went live 2 days after the attacks. Everyone else canceled. NFL canceled. NBA, everybody canceled. Vince was like, we're not canceling. We're doing a tribute show. We're doing this. And so I sang, and you can still look that up. It's incredible, like, to see that show and the energy. They had all the superstars line up. You've got Rock, Stone Cold, Undertaker, Triple. You got them all lined up there. Vince McMahon, as it's just little old me singing in the middle of the ring, a cappella, and then all these USA signs and people needing it so much.
Oh yeah.
And I got put in that situation, right? So, but I really think all of this prepped me. So it's been an incredible journey, and now I'm, Professional Fighters League. So it's first woman to ever, be in combat sports. I'm the first and only female in combat sports to be a cage announcer. So it's just been awesome that these little things that got put into my life early on were the thing that helped me on the main stage.
That is so unbelievable. Like, so
it's crazy.
Crazy.
Right? It's crazy.
And I unpack that just, outside eyes looking in, like the creativity, the self-confidence, like knowing who you are, being authentic, being able to figure it out, FIO. And I feel like for a business owner, an entrepreneur, that's just like ingrained as part of your DNA. Or I should say it can be also an acquired skill, but it's so mission critical to be successful because stuff happens, You have a pandemic that throws in, a major kink in your system,
right.
and you have a brick and mortar business, or you have situations that you went through and you have to think on the fly. I mean, that's the spirit of an entrepreneur, and hats off, Lilian. That's incredible.
Well, I think that we're saying, what things that prep you. For me, college was really important. And my parents had always said, you girls, my sister and I, you can do whatever you want, but just go to college, please. Just get that and get that away. And I'm so grateful to them because it did teach me discipline, for sure, all the studying and having to be somewhere at one time. But then also, it was a dean there that told me, and he gave me great advice because at first I thought I was going to be in medical field. I really wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a heart surgeon.
Oh, wow.
I don't know why it was about seeing blood and surgery, and I was like, yes,
the
this
adrenaline,
is so cool.
Lilian.
Oh
you
my God,
love
it was so cool. Yeah, I am kind of an adrenaline junkie. I will jump off planes and bungee jump and all that kind of stuff. So I did just go, I love diving. I just went shark diving and all. I love it.
That's awesome.
But
kindred spirits. I can't say they've been shark diving, but all the others, yes.
So cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool. But I wanted to do that, but then I was like, I don't want to study for that long. Like I didn't want to, and then I was like, I don't see myself in a hospital.
Yeah.
It's just not my personality.
Yeah.
So I had to switch gears, and then I thought, I like radio, so let's do journalism. And that requires a lot of writing. I don't really love to write. I love to write songs, but not just sit down and just write all these stories. I like to write captions in my Instagram. I love that. I like shorter things. So the dean was the one that said, you like being on camera, why don't you learn everything behind the camera? So I'm like, that really is kind of a cool idea. So that's what I did. I went filmmaking, producing, directing, which ended up helping me on my podcast, learning every aspect of it. And it's just been incredible. Like what I've been editing, I edit everything. It's really been great. But had I not had that in college, I think it would have not helped me for what I've been able to do moving forward.
Totally.
Yeah.
One other topic around this is, and we had a friend of mine named Tony, he's a fear expert. He's actually trained military, outfits to basically how to overcome fear and maneuver, et cetera.
Yeah.
And I think of like the life as it pertains to our audience is, business entrepreneurs and they're launching business, et cetera. And let's face it, like it can be a scary thing. So when I think of you and all the success and being a performer and auditions and being live in front of 14 million people, you have to have the ability to like manage fear, because let's face it, like human nature, in order to be courageous, you actually have to have fear. So fear is a necessity or a necessary ingredient within being courageous. So, what maybe some tips and strategies that you've implemented that you can share with our audience that has enabled you to overcome that fear and execute in the grandiose fashion that you have?
Well, I think one of the things that I ended up doing early on is taking the word fear and breaking it down and rewriting it. And what I mean by that is I looked at it and I was like, F-E-A-R, fake energy always robbing. That's what came to my mind. fake energy always rob me, because it really is. It's fake. Unless you're running for your life, right? Unless you're being chased. Like, that's real fear. But the other kind of fear,
social fear.
Yeah, that's just fake.
Yeah,
it's just manifested in your brain and you expand it. And I was like, okay, what can I change that FEAR? And for me, what came is fierce, every day, always ready. Like, just fierce, every day, always ready. And when I did that, and are you always going to be ready? No. But can you just prep and control what you can control? Yes. And I wasn't ready for those opportunities that came necessarily. I wasn't prepped as a ring announcer. I wasn't prepped as somebody that could just be a co-host on a radio station. But I ended up saying, okay, I'm going to do this anyway, and I'm just going to use my own authentic me, whatever I have to bring to the table with my own personality, and see if it works. And if it doesn't, it doesn't, right? But at least I tried. And boy, did it end up working. My gosh, it ended up working. But that was the thing that even there was a camera guy that told me this. He goes, people have come after you've left. Ring announcer, for example. He said, there's other girls that have come after you, and they never really connected with the fans like you did. And he goes, I was always trying to figure out why. He goes, and I realized it's because you really did connect with the fans. Like, I think it came down, same thing, to the years of being bullied and all. I didn't want to treat anybody with that kind of animosity and, the hand, I didn't want that. So instead, I took it in, even if you're a fan, I'm going to appreciate you. I'm going to shower you with, it's about how can I make you feel better about you?
Well, what I hear from that, the story, the takeaway is you developed a really high level of empathy towards people because of the background that you had, that bullying, et cetera.
Right.
And then when you developed that, it actually became like a superpower.
Totally.
And then enables you to connect and actually just manifest your career exponentially larger than if you didn't have that experience.
Because I think if you approach things in a way of not how can you make me feel, but how can I make you feel by me being in your presence? Right? What is it that I can add to your life by you being in my presence? How can I make you feel better by you being in my presence instead of what you can do for me? It ended up where I enjoy meeting people so much because it comes down to if I can put a smile in somebody's face. If somebody right now is listening to this podcast and is like, oh my God, I'm taking away this and I'm taking away that and I can add it to my life, that's what brings me joy. Even though I might not ever meet you, ever know that, or anything like that, I have to feel like someone's listening to this and gaining something, which is what makes me smile. And I think if you can approach that as a fitness coach, what is it that you can do for the people that are training, right? That you can bring some empathy to their lives and what it is that they're going through and bring a smile that they just lost 1 pound. And sometimes it's not just about what they lost as far as weight wise. For me, fitness saved me because I had an eating disorder and I was bulimic. And it was one day, it was my worst day. And I basically went around. I went to McDonald's and I picked out and I'd go to 7-Eleven and I'd throw up there and then I'd go to the place and then purge there. And then it was a cycle that was just horrible. And I thought I'd control and I completely lost control. And I threw up blood that day on my 15th time. And that was my wake-up call right there. I said, I need help. I need help. I didn't know anything about food. I'd always been thin. And then I hit, it was around when I was 19, and all of a sudden my body was changing, and all of a sudden I was gaining weight, and I didn't know what to do with it, and it was freaking me out. Well, I'd never been taught fitness. I'd never been taught, I was always fit. I was always, working out, but nobody ever taught me nutrition. I didn't know carbs, too many carbs and the protein and all that. And I ended up joining Weight Watchers, and that saved my life. And then just fitness saved my life and just, incorporating learning from the two. So it's not necessarily all about losing weight. It's how you can help your client in whatever that they're going through. And eating disorders are so rampant that we're not talking about it enough. And your client might have an eating disorder and they might not be willing to talk about it. So know that you might be helping saving their life, not just by how many pounds they can lose and not just about image, but literally teaching them so that they can stop doing the thing that could kill them. At that time, I was losing my hair, my teeth were going gray, acid reflux was through the roof, I was losing my voice, and then I was losing my ability to sing, which was losing my ability.
Career.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I was just getting so depressed. I was crying a lot. It was just, everything was crumbling down. So finding health and fitness saved me, and that's why I haven't given it up to this day. It's part of my life. It just is.
Well, I love that, and thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing that,
Yeah.
especially for someone like you outside looking in. You would never think that.
Oh, there's so many struggles that I'm an open book.
Well, appreciate it. But, number one, health and fitness is incredibly important. Two, your authenticity and vulnerability is impressive. And really, three, going back to the point that I think you made an incredible connection is, fitness actually is important, for our gyms, but it's really the connection with your client. Because
Totally.
if you can connect them, if you can feel their pain, if you can pour into them, then the guards drop and they'd be more open to your coaching. And then you can actually, take them to the, a better life, a better physique, et cetera. So a lot of takeaways there. What's up, my friend? Bryce here. Now, you might know me as the co-host of this podcast and the CEO of FitBody. But what many people don't know is that I actually began my journey as a FitBody franchise owner. Now, being an owner, I wake up every day absolutely doing what I love. I live my passion. I help people transform their lives and have both financial and personal freedom. And it's for these reasons and many more that other owners join the brand and open their own FitBody locations too. So if you're looking to build a highly profitable business, take charge of your life, and create an impact in your very own community, then opening a FitBody gym might be a perfect fit for you. Now, to see if a territory is available in your area, as we have very limited spots due to our incredible growth, go ahead and visit our website at fbbcfranchise.com to complete an application. Well, thanks, and back to the show. The last big question I have around your career is you've done an incredible job of marketing yourself, just in terms of putting out there. And granted, you've story told a little bit, but maybe what would be a recommendation or two for our audience who is interested to gain a following and to create a community in their location, or create a fitness community within their neighborhood, but maybe doesn't have like the marketing background or I guess. The wherewithal to kind of put themselves out there. From your perspective and kind of tapping into your marketing genius, like how have you done it? Maybe what are some recommendations?
Well, it's wild that you say this about marketing and marketing myself and all. It's been, at first I was having a complete love-hate relationship with social media. Not gonna lie. I didn't love the fact that I felt forced to post. I didn't love the fact that I was just like, what do I post? And this and how many likes I got and, anything like that. And then I got a complete different perspective and I'm like, Lil, just post what you want to post. Like, stop somebody else telling you what to post, right? Go back to what works for you. Being authentic works for you. That's my key to everything. And I think it's a key. It should be a key to everybody. I think it works for anybody. Really, just be authentic. I have my slogan is remember to always be yourself and trust that it's enough. Because I think we walk around not thinking we're enough. But just by being yourself, trust that it's enough. And once I really took that in and put that into my social media, it just started going through the roof. People were like, oh, she's not trying to be sexy or trying to, another selfie post or whatever. I authentically am trying to help with whatever my story is. And so I'll put a picture up there and then I really take time in my captions and try to do something that helps somebody through what I've gone through, but not try to also be like, do this and do that. Because that can be a little bit tiring after a while, So I actually tried to get somebody to help me with social media, and then they weren't able to, it started not sounding like it was me. Not that I had somebody that was, like, they would write it out and then be like, well, what about you, this or something? And I'm like, no, this isn't, and I'd go back and correct it, and I'm like, oh, by the time I'm correcting all of this, I
might
might
as well
as well do it myself.
Yeah.
And that's what I do.
Yeah.
Because I literally do, all my social media is me.
Yeah.
I have nobody else running it. Yes, it is time consuming, but at the same time, I don't let it consume me, put it that way. I get excited now to go, what am I feeling today? I don't even map it out like a week before or whatever. I know some people do that. But sometimes that day will bring something else. Look, when the shootings happened in Texas and all these shootings are happening, right? I was like, I don't really want to post a selfie of me like, hey, I'm, happy and, that kind of thing. You have to know your environment. You have to know your timing. You have to be in touch with what's going on. And so there was a picture when I sang at church. There was a photo of me that a friend took that is like a silhouette, and it's me praying. And so I posted that, and I said, I think it's time to stop sometimes on social media of the whole selling, and be in tune with what's going on and have empathy for others, and using this time to pray for each other. And and that got a lot of response. And I don't look for the lot of likes I get. Am I tapping into, touching somebody's heart? I think that's the approach to everything. Can we just touch everybody's heart and just, how can I better your life? That's it. How can I better your life?
Oh, that's so awesome. That is awesome. You are an amazing soul, and I think that's just good advice for everyone, our audience watching. Like, if you connect with people and be aware and show up trying to help, you're going to win. Your audience is going to win as well. All right, Lilian, I still have a few more minutes with you, and I want to transition to the lightning round if you're up for it.
Yes.
All right, good stuff. You're a very passionate person, so am I. What would you say is one of your biggest passions today, and why?
My biggest passion today is just really enjoying what I do and spreading positivity. I mean, I even say to I'm here to spread love. I'm here to spread positivity. I don't think there's any way for me to live. Like, that's my biggest passion, for sure.
Beautiful. Next up, and I'm going to miss this in the original conversation, we incorporate in the lightning round, but I think it's so important. Yep. Having so much success in a male-dominated world, a lot of our, audience are very successful, and specifically from our franchise perspective, Fit Body Bootcamp, are very strong, successful business entrepreneurs. What, has enabled you to, stick out, in a male-dominated world?
Don't give them a reason to say, I should have hired a guy, right? So, and by doing that, what could I control? I could control being on time. I could control my attitude. I can control how much I study, how prepared I am for whatever it is that I'm about to announce. I can be a team player. I can make sure and thank people. You do not get to anywhere without other people. Okay, so I thank people all the time. I tell them how much I appreciate them. And I think all of these things have made people actually want to work with me. And in turn, the guys that are there are wanting to help me, in any way. And I'll turn to them sometimes. Right now I'm working with Randy Couture. I mean, I love Randy. He's a huge MMA legend. Him, Kenny Florian, Sean O'Connell. I mean, I'm working with amazing MMA fighters. And I tell them all the time, guys, I'm in a whole new world now. This is my third season with PFL, and I'm learned a lot more than I did, season one. I said, but, I was 15 years in the wrestling world. I don't know that much about MMA world, so I'm going to need your guidance on this. So anything you guys see that might not, this doesn't work here, might have worked over there, point it out to me. So give people an opportunity and the okay to give you feedback. Be open to feedback.
Well, thank you. Incredible message. And I'm open to your feedback on how to continue to better the show, as we just talked offline with our Fit Body Bootcamp mug right there. So I love that. Next up, what would you say from your perspective is your unique zone of genius? What is this factory installed in you that's really separated you from the pack?
I think tenacity, for sure. I feel like I get called sometimes, the girls in the locker room from WWE would always call me Little Guyver. Remember MacGyver? The show?
Yeah.
I will come up.
Figure out anything?
Figure out.
Yeah.
Like, there's always a way. There's always a way. So just figure out some way to do it. And it's either whether I'm figuring out with, coming up with a paperclip or whatever to do something, or if somebody tells me no, I'm always like, okay, there's always a way. So let's try to figure out a way we can make a win-win. So really present it as a win-win, not what can I get out of this? Let's figure out a way to be a win-win. If that person can't help you, whether it's customer service or something, ask for a manager. And be very courteous when you speak to them. You do not get anything by being, aggressive and, you got to help me out. No, that's not. Just, how can we work this out? Because I know there's always a way. Let's work this out. Just use your charm to be like, come on.
Oh, you are such a charmer. I love that. Beautiful. Next up, two-part question, and you've been very vulnerable, very grateful for that. But what would you say, Lilian, is one of the lowest life moments? It could be life or career, and maybe a lesson that you learned. And then the flip side, what's your biggest, proudest accomplishment?
When I saw blood, during that time, I realized I'm so out of control that I need help. And I think a lot of times people are scared to ask for help. They think that it's a weakness, and it's actually a strength. When you get to a point where you've lost control, when you get to a point where life is not helping you, and you're not succeeding, and whatever it is that you're doing, or you're self-sabotaging, ask for help. We're not all supposed to be geniuses on everything. You're an expert in fitness. I'm not an expert in fitness. I love fitness, but if I really want to get the gains that I want, I need to ask for your help, right? If I really want to get healthier, I need to ask somebody who's been through this, or a psychologist, whatever. I've lost control with this eating disorder. What do I need to do to get healthy again? Because this lifestyle, this is not what I want anymore. And so I think that that's the thing, is just take your ego out and just be like, dude, give me your expertise on this, because I'm at a point that this is not working.
Way harder said than done, but that is sage advice.
But it's strength. If you can see that it's stronger to do that. And that's the ego, right? We don't allow our egos to see it that way. And I think the more we can really be open, and that's why I'm so open about talking about mental health or anything like that, because the more open we can do that, the more we can help each other out. The more this world will not go into what's happening right now. I think it's too chaotic, and I don't think we're communicating enough.
Yeah. On the flip side, what's the proudest accomplishment you've had in your life?
Through my singing, it's been wild how I have been put into these situations where I could use my voice for healing. And two moments that really present itself that I was like, whoa, like it really hit me was, after 9/11 and being put in that situation of bringing healing to the country for sure, and to the world that was watching. I mean, everybody was in shock of what had just happened. And the fact that I could use my voice to heal, I'm proud that the years of my parents being behind me and singing, and my friends, and the support that I got that would allow me to be in a position like that, and Vince McMahon asking me to be in that position and thinking enough of me that I could pull it off. But I didn't do it alone. I mean, it was them, it was Rock, looking at me and saying, you got this, kid, you can do this, kid. And Paul Heyman being like, come on, you've been doing this now, you can do it. Like, I didn't do it alone, right? But that was a really proud moment that I could do it. Fast forward when we were in Iraq, and I'm being surrounded by soldiers who are all saluting while I'm singing the national anthem. Saddam Hussein's palace is right behind me. And the helicopters, everything is flying overhead, and I'm singing this national anthem that afterwards a soldier came with tears in his eyes, gave me his dog tags and said, thank you. You just reminded us why we're out here, because we never hear the song, and it's a real reminder. And that's why the song means so much to me. As an Army brat, like, I was surrounded by the family, right, practically. Mm-hmm. So I was like, wow. That is pretty spectacular that I could be given that opportunity. Yeah, it's that. It's the using whatever gift you have to heal. And that for me is proud, and I want to continue to do that.
Well, good on you, and thank you for your service.
Thank you. Oh, no, not my service. The soldiers are the ones that do it. They're the ones that are, out there fighting, and are brave men and women in the military, and the families that do give up a lot too. I'm just so proud to be an Army brat, and what they do for our country.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Last couple questions here, Lilian.
Okay.
We're both really good and students of personal growth, and you can just feel it, right?
Yes.
In you, what has been a piece of literature, a book, a podcast, something that you've digested that's really shaped the way you think that, you could offer our audience for more value for them?
2 books, actually, when you said that, came to my mind. Wow. And I did this book on audio, and I'm actually glad I did, because hearing the different voices really sunk it in for me. Outwitting the Devil. Oh, man. Did that one ever sink in? To know how long ago that book was written, and then to know how it wasn't even released for like 70 years or something, right? And then to know what was happening during that, and then what's happening now. Like, it applies to then, it applies to now. It's crazy to hear this, but hearing the voice of what, with the devil in that, it's wild when we allow that voice to be louder, than what we know we can really do and the good that we can do. And I think it's a good book for people to hear and understand that we have more power than we think we do. We just sometimes let that negative voice be so loud that, it starts drowning the positive things in that positive voice. And it's just, whenever I hear that voice, I'm always like, shut up. Just shut up. You do not belong in my atmosphere. You do not get to have a ticket to this show. And so that book really did it for me. And then You're a Badass, Jen Sincero.
Yeah.
I loved it. I just thought it was...
That's a good book. I enjoyed it too.
It is. The way she wrote it.
Yeah.
It was just, it's very entertaining. And that one I read, I didn't listen to the audiobook. I actually think I went back and listened. I can't remember now, but I just think there's a lot of takeaways from that. And just remember, you are a badass. You are.
Boom.
That's it.
Mic drop. All right, my friend Lilian, last question for you, and our audience has gotten so much value today. I certainly have. One of the favorite part about this is just learning from my awesome guests. But our audience who are interested in fitness and business and personal growth and entrepreneurship, what would be a piece of parting wisdom that would help them on their journey?
Be open, right? Because I think that's what I've been. I didn't focus that my life had to look a certain way. If I would have focused that my life had to be just a singer, I would have missed out on traveling the world with WWE for 15 years, gaining the fan base that I've gained, that then I've been able to sing. I've released 2 albums during the show with them. So by being open, it looks so much better. And then now working in MMA, I didn't see that, but it's been so much fun. And I never realized how I could gain like this fan base of sports that could actually transfer to singing and intertwine between the two, and just have variety in my life. I wouldn't have had variety. And that for me has been very important. And that's what I do. Sometimes I'm like, okay, today's the day that I'm writing and I'm singing. Okay, today's the day that I'm focused on my announcing. Okay, today I'm focused on just the fans and I'm connecting and I'm doing signings, or, whatever it is that or today's the day that I'm just singing at the church, or today's, but it's so fun. I wake up with just like this, what's today? That's right, I get to do this. And it's that mentality. I get to do this. I don't have to do this. I get to do this.
Oh, love that so much. Lilian, you are so awesome. I'm so grateful for you to be here. And certainly our audience has gotten a ton of value. Where can they stay connected with you at, whether it's social or website?
Yeah, so I'm located at Lilian Garcia, Lilian with 1 L in the middle because it truly is Spanish. So I don't write it with 2 L's, it's 1 L. And that's on Instagram, Twitter. I'm more active on Instagram. And then Lilian Garcia official fan page on Facebook. And then for anything, for me, it's liliangarcia.com. So.
Friends, that's where you can find her. So before we shoot today, Lynn, I just want to thank you so much. And I want to acknowledge you. The way you show up, your energy, your care, your empathy, your ability to connect, your ability to figure it out, be creative, and really inspire. Like I would like to think I'm an inspirational guy. I take, big leaps at life, and you do that. I've been so inspired just like listening to you and becoming friends with you over the last 1.5 or 2 years, and it's been incredible. So I want to acknowledge you. Thank you so much for being on the show, and it's been an incredible time having you.
Thank you. And I want to say to everybody who's listening to this, you're already gaining by taking the time to listen to a show like this, by being open to go, you know what, I don't know it all. I want to learn from all the guests that are on there. And I think that's a big thing for people. And I applaud them, anybody who's listening to this, because that is a big step in saying, yes, I want more. I want more. And I want to learn from people that might have something to say that, from their paths. And that's why I love listening to podcasts, for
Totally.
sure.
Well, Lilian, thank you again. And friends, I know you got a ton of value. I certainly have as well. But assuming you did, go ahead and give us a like and subscribe on YouTube and write us an awesome review on iTunes that we can keep producing this content for you for free. So that's all for today. Again, thank you so much.
Thank you.